Chosen one, anchor your spirit to what I am about to say right now. That quiet you felt this morning, do not dismiss it. Heaven just recalibrated because of you, not because of someone else's prayer, not because of a prophet's intercession, because of what you did this morning, because of one specific act that you did not even recognize as significant. And the moment you did it, God looked at the original plan and said, "Cancel it. We are building something better." The enemy is working overtime right now for one reason, and one reason only. He watched what happened this morning, and he knows what heaven just authorized. It all shifts in the next 24 hours. The stagnation, the silence, the feeling that nothing is moving. But here is what you need to understand before we go any further. This is not shifting because your season finally arrived. It is shifting because of what you did. There is a difference, and that difference is everything. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment that was written into the framework of this day before you ever opened your eyes this morning. You are not scrolling. You are being summoned. Stay until the very last second, because in the next few minutes I am going to hand you the exact spiritual verdict that heaven issued this morning on your behalf. I am going to show you the precise moment your act this morning functioned as a legal decree in the court of heaven. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that seals what God just authorized, so the enemy cannot touch it. Do not click away. Your future self is on the other side of this message. And if you leave before the end, you will walk out of this threshold without the verdict that was prepared specifically for you today. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. It has not just been quiet, it has been strange, like the atmosphere shifted and nobody told you why. Like you woke up this morning carrying something you could not name. Maybe you did something small this morning that you almost did not do. Maybe you chose patience when your first instinct was frustration. Maybe you prayed when you did not feel like it, when the words felt hollow and the ceiling felt like concrete. Or maybe you simply made a choice to get up and move forward, even though everything in you wanted to stay still and surrender to the exhaustion that has been sitting in your bones for weeks now. You felt like none of it mattered. You felt like you were going through motions. You had no idea that what you did in that quiet moment this morning was being witnessed at a level far beyond anything you can see with your natural eyes. You feel suspended right now, like you are standing between two worlds. The life you have been living and the life God has been preparing. And in that suspension, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie into your thoughts. Listen carefully, because you have heard this lie today. He is telling you that your act this morning was insignificant. He is telling you that small obedience does not move heaven. He is replaying every delayed promise, every unanswered prayer, every moment this year where you did the right thing and nothing seemed to change. The accuser is using your own faithfulness as evidence against you. He is saying your consistency has not registered. He is saying God did not notice. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Zechariah 4:10 says, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." Listen to that. The Lord rejoices, not tolerates, not acknowledges, rejoices. Heaven does not grade obedience by size. Heaven responds to the posture of the heart behind the act. And what you carried into that moment this morning was not small. It was the posture of someone who chose God when it cost them something. And that kind of obedience does not go unnoticed. It goes into the record. It becomes evidence. It becomes the legal ground upon which heaven moves. The enemy told you that your small act this morning was invisible. God just canceled his entire original itinerary because of it. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of being forgotten. It is the weight of transition. It is the pressure that builds in a room right before every wall shifts. You are not standing in delay. You are standing in the final seconds before recalibration becomes visible. What you did this morning was not routine. It was not weakness. It was not wasted. It was the act that moved heaven's hand. And before we go any further, I need you to understand something. What you are about to receive is not just a message, it is a map. Some of you have been circling the same mountain for years, knowing something is there but unable to name it. You feel the pull, the ancient knowing, the whisper of a destiny just beyond your grasp, like a forgotten melody haunting the edges of your awareness. The Chosen One's blueprint was written for this exact moment in your journey, a divine roadmap designed to illuminate the terrain of your soul. It is a profound unveiling, an 8-chapter journey that decodes the intricate tapestry of why your life unfolded the way it did. Why the suffering arrived so early, like an uninvited guest to your childhood. Why the isolation felt so complete, as if you were the last soul on a silent planet. And most crucially, what divine forces are unlocking right now in this season of your life, preparing you for an unprecedented harvest. This revelation is not meant to be a solitary encounter. It also comes with the full audiobook, a portable sanctuary of truth, so you can carry this wisdom with you during prayer, during quiet moments of introspection, during the times when you need its divine assurance most. And for those of you who sense a stirring within, a deep, undeniable conviction that God is preparing you to carry a potent prophetic word into this generation, a word that can shift atmospheres and awaken sleeping giants, you will also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle as a powerful bonus guide. It is an essential tool to help you step boldly into your voice. The link is in the first pinned comment, a beacon pointing you toward this sacred inheritance. But it will not remain there forever, for divine invitations often have a finite window. Now, let us go deeper into the heart of this celestial recalibration, because here is what most people never stop to consider, what eludes the casual observer, and even the earnest seeker. God does not cancel covenants as lightly. He does not reroute the cosmic currents of destiny without profound reason. When heaven itself recalibrates around a single human being, it signifies that this individual has performed an act, spoken a word, or achieved a state of being that registered like a seismic shift in the spiritual atmosphere. And what you did this morning, whether you fully grasp its magnitude or not, sent a frequency upward, a resonant vibration that compelled heaven to respond, not out of disruption or a desire to cause chaos, but out of pure, unadulterated recognition. It was an acknowledgement of a shift that had occurred within you. Think about what that means for a moment. You have been praying, waiting, pressing through the trials and tribulations, and somewhere deep within the chambers of your heart, you have been harboring a quiet, persistent doubt, wondering whether any of your earnest pleas, your silent tears, your persistent efforts are actually being heard in the vast expanse of the cosmos. And the answer that reverberated this morning was not a faint whisper. It was not a still, small voice that easily fades into the background noise of life. No, it was a complete, divine restructuring, a celestial decree. Heaven did not merely adjust the margins of your existing story, like a minor edit. Heaven, in its infinite wisdom and power, canceled the entire draft and began writing something entirely new, a narrative of unparalleled glory and purpose. But here is where the revelation deepens. For most people hear that, and immediately feel a wave of hope surge through their being. And indeed, hope is right. Hope is profoundly warranted. But if you allow yourself to stop at the ephemeral feeling, you will miss the profound instruction embedded within this sacred moment. God does not recalibrate your life simply to make you feel special, though you are undeniably cherished. He recalibrates because he is orchestrating a transition about to move you to a new spiritual landscape, a realm of purpose and destiny that the old blueprint, the previous iteration of your life, could never have accommodated. And this means that something you have been clinging to, something you may have affectionately or even desperately called your dream, Your plan, your meticulously crafted timeline, had to be released, like a bird, leaving the nest, before he could place the new assignment, the greater calling, into your open hands. This is often the part that stings the most, the aspect that brings tears to the eyes and ache to the soul, for most people. Because the thing that God canceled this morning was not just an external plan, a career trajectory, or a relationship. In many profound cases, it was a version of yourself, a version that had grown too comfortable in the waiting room of life, mistaking the preparation for the destination itself. A version that had started to confuse the antechamber of divine process with the grand ballroom of your ultimate purpose. You had begun to settle into the delay, into the season of dormancy, as though it were your permanent address, your unchangeable reality. And God, in His boundless mercy and perfect timing, looked at you this morning and whispered, "Not yet, but more importantly also, not here, never here, never here." You were never meant to reside permanently in the place of preparation. And what is coming next, what is poised to unfold, will likely surprise you, because it always does at this profound layer of divine revelation. Observe. There is a timeless pattern that runs through the lives of every single individual whom heaven has ever dramatically redirected. It is woven into the very fabric of their journeys. It shows up with breathtaking clarity in the story of Abraham, when God commanded him to leave everything he knew, every familiar comfort, every deeply ingrained security, without even providing him with a clear destination. It manifests in the poignant narrative of Ruth, who walked away from the known and the comfortable, a widow leaving her homeland in the direction of a harvest she could not yet see, driven by an unseen promise. It is powerfully evident in the dramatic transformation of Paul, who was stopped mid-stride on a road that made complete logical sense to him, a road he was absolutely certain he was divinely appointed to be on, and was rendered blind until he could finally see with spiritual sight. The undeniable pattern is this: God never recalibrates the merely willing, He recalibrates the ready, and ready looks and feels vastly different from willing. Willing says, "I will go," but only if the conditions are exactly right, if the path is clear and the outcome is guaranteed. Ready, on the other hand, says, "I have already let go of the need for guaranteed conditions. I am committed to the journey, whatever it may hold." This morning, something within you, perhaps a subtle release, a quiet surrender, finally let go. Maybe you did not even feel it consciously, like the gentle unfolding of a petal. Maybe it happened in the liminal space of the quiet before you were fully awake. In that thin, sacred space between sleep and waking, where your conscious defenses are lowered and your spirit speaks with a clarity and freedom that your analytical mind rarely allows during the waking hours. Something deep within you released its grip, and heaven noticed. The spiritual registers lit up, and the entire architecture of your next season, the very blueprint of your future, shifted in immediate, powerful response. But here is the part no one wants to hear, the truth that can initially feel like a harsh wind, and it absolutely needs to land with divine gravity before we go any further on this sacred path. The recalibration is not solely about what God is adding to your life, the new blessings, the expanded opportunities, the divine appointments. It is equally, and perhaps more profoundly, about what He is removing. And some of what He is actively removing right now, with divine precision, you are still desperately trying to hold on to, like a child clinging to a broken toy. Some of what He is canceling with heavenly decree, you have been passionately praying to keep. There are relationships in your life that felt like destiny, like divinely ordained partnerships, but were in actuality subtle detours designed to teach you lessons before you reached your true destination. There are opportunities that gleamed like brightly shining open doors, but were in reality rigorous tests of your spiritual discernment, and your ability to distinguish the divine from the deceptive. There are versions of success, glittering mirages you have been relentlessly chasing, that, if God had allowed you to reach them, would have ultimately taken you further from your actual divine calling, not closer to it. And this is the inherent tension, the profound paradox of divine recalibration. It does not always feel like a blessing when it initially begins. It often feels, in the moment, like a devastating loss. Stay with me, I implore you, because what is coming next is the very path that holds the power to break the cycles of the past and set you free into your appointed destiny. Joseph understood this tension, this agonizing paradox, better than almost anyone in the sacred texts. He carried a genuine, palpable, God-given dream, and for years after receiving it, everything that transpired in his life appeared to be the polar opposite of that dream coming true. His own brothers, those closest to him, stripped him of the coat of many colors, a symbol of his identity and his father's favor, casting him into the darkness. He was thrown into a literal pit, a place of abandonment and despair, sold into slavery, his freedom and dignity ripped away, falsely accused, his character maligned, imprisoned, his potential confined, and yet, at every single point of apparent cancellation, of utter devastation, God was not absent. God was actively constructing. The pit was not a punishment. It was a powerful, albeit agonizing, preparation for the palace. But Joseph, trapped in the suffocating darkness of the pit, could not see the grand design. He had to keep trusting without any tangible evidence. He had to preserve the integrity of his spirit without the comfort of a timeline. He had to allow God to recalibrate his circumstances again and again, without allowing the relentless recalibration to curdle into bitterness and resentment. And this is precisely where I need to speak directly to someone watching this right now, to the one whose heart is resonating with this very struggle. You have been in a pit, perhaps not a literal pit of darkness and despair, but spiritually in a place where your magnificent gifts were visible to all, but tragically unused, where your divine purpose was deeply felt within your soul, but remained frustratingly unexpressed, where the dream that God Himself placed within your core was vibrantly alive, but buried beneath layers upon layers of profound disappointment and deferred hope. And in your anguish, you have been crying out to God, asking Him, why has not the breakthrough come yet? But the true question that heaven has been patiently waiting for you to ask, the pivotal inquiry that unlocks the next stage of your destiny, is not why has not it come. The real question is this: am I truly ready to receive it in the exact form that God has chosen, rather than the idealized form that I have stubbornly imagined? Because here is what most people miss entirely: the breakthrough you have been fervently asking for, the miraculous intervention you have envisioned, and the breakthrough that God has meticulously prepared for you, are often not the same thing, not in terms of their shape, their size, or their divine timing. And the vast, often painful gap between your limited expectation and His boundless, perfect preparation is the exact space where people surrender, where they give up hope. You have been waiting for a grand ornate door that looks a certain way, when God has already opened a discreet, yet powerful window. You have been praying for the restoration of what was, for the return of a past season, when God has been patiently and powerfully building something entirely new, something you have never seen or even conceived of before. And once that profound understanding clicks into place, once you genuinely receive and embrace that truth at the deepest level of your being, everything begins to shift. The perspective changes, the struggle softens, but there is still another layer, another profound truth lying just beneath the surface, because right underneath that liberating realization is a root that runs even deeper into the soil of your being. And if you do not see it, if you do not identify and address it, it will continue to operate subtly beneath the surface of every new season, every divine encounter that God brings you into, sabotaging your progress. It is the insidious root of self-protection masquerading as spiritual discernment. It is the deeply ingrained habit of calling your fear wisdom. It is the practice of labeling your avoidance of risk as patience. It is the tendency to mistake your withdrawal from meaningful engagement for peace. Many people who are genuinely called, genuinely anointed, genuinely chosen by God, have inadvertently built entire theologies around their own hesitation, their own innate resistance to stepping out. They have transformed their delay into a sacred doctrine. They have eloquently preached surrender to the will of God, while silently, desperately, and meticulously controlling every variable they can possibly reach, clinging to the illusion of safety. And God, in His unwavering love and perfect understanding, has been waiting. Not because He is slow to act, but because He will never force you into a freedom that you have not yet genuinely chosen. This morning, something within you, however fleetingly, stopped controlling, even for a single sacred moment. And that moment, that sliver of surrendered release, was profoundly enough now. Here comes the confrontation, and I say this with the deepest love and conviction, because this is the very part that holds the power to shatter generational cycles and liberate you into your true inheritance. The greatest barrier standing between you and everything God has so meticulously recalibrated in your favor is not the enemy. The enemy is real. Spiritual warfare is undeniably real. Opposition is a tangible force, but none of that is your greatest obstacle right now. Your greatest obstacle is that deeply ingrained part of you that still, at its core, does not believe you are truly allowed to have it, to receive it, to possess it. It is the part of you that has been wounded so many times, disappointed so profoundly, so repeatedly, that you have inadvertently built a hidden wall around your heart. Not to keep God out, for He can breach any barrier, but to protect yourself from the devastating pain of hoping again, at full, unrestrained strength. You have been believing cautiously, like someone tiptoeing through a minefield, trusting partially, like a sailor with one hand on the rudder and the other clinging to the railing, surrendering, but always keeping one hand firmly on the outcome, just in case. And God is asking you right now, in this precise, pivotal moment, to take that hand back, not to grab the outcome for yourself, but to lift it, trembling perhaps, in complete and utter surrender. Because here is the utterly unexpected truth, a revelation that reframes everything you have received today, everything you have experienced up to this point. God did not recalibrate heaven, did not orchestrate this monumental shift in your life because of how perfectly you performed or how flawlessly you behaved. He recalibrated of how profoundly honest you became. It was not your flawless performance this morning that initiated this divine response. It was not your unwavering discipline, your consistent spiritual routines, or your perceived spiritual maturity. It was the moment of raw, unguarded honesty, the profound moment you stopped pretending to be okay when you were not, the moment you allowed God to see the actual, unvarnished condition of your heart. That was the celestial signal that heaven responded to. Not the polished prayer delivered with perfect articulation, not the memorized declaration recited with practiced eloquence. It was the truth that lay underneath all of it, the authentic cry of your soul, the place within you that finally whispered with complete vulnerability, "I do not have this figured out. I desperately need you to carry what I simply cannot." That raw vulnerability, that sacred nakedness before the gaze of the Almighty, was the very catalyst that activated the recalibration. Heaven does not primarily move toward your perceived strength. Heaven moves with unparalleled power toward your surrender. And that, my friends, changes absolutely everything, because it means you do not have to arrive at your destination fully healed before God can begin to use you. You do not have to arrive at your calling completely whole before He can send you forth with divine purpose. You do not have to arrive with absolute certainty before He can establish you firmly in your destiny. He is building within you right now, through this very moment of profound recognition and surrendered honesty, an unshakable foundation that will be more than strong enough to hold the immeasurable weight of everything He is about to release into your life. Now, I invite you to place your hand upon your heart, to feel the pulse of divine truth within you, and to declare this with me with every fiber of your being. I release the version of myself that survived by staying small. I release every agreement I have unconsciously or consciously made with delay, with doubt, with the insidious lie that I am too broken, too flawed, too unworthy to be chosen. I cancel every expectation I have built in my own mind, without heaven's divine input or confirmation, and I open my hands wide and receptive to receive what God has actually perfectly prepared for me. I am not waiting for permission to step into my divine purpose, because that permission was eternally granted before I was even born. I do not carry the limiting labels that have been placed upon me by people who could not see what God sees, who could not comprehend the divine potential He has ignited within me. I walk forward today, not because I possess all the answers or have every step mapped out, but because I profoundly trust the one who does. My breakthrough is not coming in the future. It is already here. It is already moving. It is already intricately woven into the very fabric of this sacred moment. I am seen. I am known. I am exactly where heaven needs me to be in this present time and place. And from this day forward, I will not negotiate with fear. I will not perform for conditional love. And I will not shrink myself to make others comfortable with the magnitude of my divine calling. I am the chosen one for whom God recalibrated heaven, and I receive it fully, completely, and without apology now. Go forth and live like that truth is real. Because it is.